Aisha, should Nigeria believe you? Like,
Nigerians don't have to believe you. Whatever, they should believe themselves. When people show you who they are, believe them. Whatever they think of me, let them believe. I don't need anybody to believe me. I want Nigerians to believe in themselves, for them to be able to make decisions on themselves. And over a decade that I've been in the public space and I've spoken, what I've always said is that I don't want to help anybody. I want people to not need my help. And what I do is to empower people to be able to make decisions on their own. If you have to make a decision through Aisha Yusufu, then I've failed. I haven't done anything in the last 10 years. But when you are able to stand and even sometimes look at an Aisha Yusufu and say, no, what you're doing is not the right way. We're going to be. That's when I've grown, because my children challenge me. I brought them up to challenge me. And I brought them up in a way to say, don't ever say because mommy said it, it's right. No, if I've told you to do something and it's not right, don't do it. And one of the things for me I'm so excited about is the fact that there are so many young people who are owning their voices, who are speaking. There was a time in Nigeria where if I don't speak on issue, literally that issue doesn't get to trend or doesn't get to. Sometimes I'm speaking on several issues at the same time. But now I can actually not even say anything on an issue and it's trending. And for me, that's the beauty of it. So when Nigerians, I'm not saying Nigerians believe me or not, do your assessment and you decide whether you find me worthy of believing or not. Look at my antecedent. Look at where I've always been and where I've said. Have I been someone who says one thing and does a different thing? Have I been someone that is not trustworthy? Have I been someone that has not been true? Because I know my inside my class. And then make your decision from there.
The truth is that, activism in Nigeria, a lot of people, have rode on that same platform to get to the position of power. People like, I don't even want to mention names, but some of the people that rode on that same platforms, and they are in some way in Nigerian political framework at the moment. You understand? But they're just like the opposite of what they want for. You understand? So now that's why people are asking, when you get there, when you get to the corridors of power, are you still going to be Aisha that Nigerians?
So the first thing I'm going to answer is that there are a lot of medical doctors who got into power, they didn't do the right thing. There are a lot of lawyers who got into power, they didn't do the right thing. There are a lot of teachers, there are different professions. There are a lot of men who got into power, they didn't do the right thing. There are women. Has that stopped any of those people to say, okay, this profession, don't do it or this, don't do it or that, don't do it? Why always activism? Remember what I said to you? Nigerians are in an abusive relationship, and so anything that looks as if it's going to happen, no, they would rather not, because they would rather stay with the norm of being abused rather than taking a chance and say that. Why does one either activist or advocate that got into power and didn't do the right thing be a brush that will be used on an Aisha Yusufu? Why? Why have you not used that same brush to say, okay, no doctors should get, no lawyers should, or no certain profession? Because we have the people that have failed Nigeria all over are basically, people that have come from different professions, whether different religion or different, agenda and everything. But for me, is to say that the biggest thing that really pains me is the fact that Nigerians have not understood that the power belongs to the people. There's nobody, even today, if the people were to rise up and use their power, come together and use that power, there's nobody that will treat them anyhow. There's nobody that will not be forced to do the right thing. It's because they give them enabling environment for them to keep abdicating their responsibilities. That's why people get into power and then they begin to misbehave anyhow. They get into power. Make sure you have the power to, vote them out. Make sure you have the power to recall them. Make sure you have the power to ask your lawmakers to impeach them. There's nobody that cannot be removed. There's nobody. If you're a president, you can be impeached by the National Assembly. If you are a governor, you can be impeached by the State House of Assembly. If you are a lawmaker, you can be recalled by your people. Even though the process is tedious, but you can still do it. So this is the power that people have.
These national assemblies that people tagged rubber stamp?
Yes, because people did not put in people that will fight for them. You're going there and saying, I think you're an activist, you should not be in power. And you put in the ones that don't know that a National Assembly are supposed to be, the members of the National Assembly are supposed to be people who are activists and advocates in government. Because they're supposed to be holding the executive accountable. And I always say something, the bedrock of democracy is a legislative arm of government. Sure. They make laws, they ratify treaties. When there's nomination, they confirm nomination, they hold government, accountable, they pass budget. They're literally the most powerful arm. But because we don't bother to the kind of people we are sending in, we are sending in people who are voiceless. We are allowing people who are former executives to go and fill that place. We are allowing them to be the ones that choose the people to come in, because Nigerians don't want to put their monies where their votes are. Someone is running for office who has a competence, character, integrity, who is vocal, who is courageous, who is patriotic, who can stand for the people, because those are the representative of the people, who can stand and speak and be the mouthpiece of the people. But they will not vote for them. They will say, oh, they are looking for money. They are looking for politicians that will come and dash them money. And then when these politicians dash them money, they will go in there and do anything and become rubber stamp either senators or House of Rep members or State House of Assembly members, because they need to recoup the money that they spent before. And the easiest way to recoup it is by being used as a rubber stamp, and they get paid. But if Nigerians truly want a National Assembly or State Houses of Assembly that stand and speak for the people, then they should be invested in getting the right people in.
Okay. Now, let's talk about family one more time before we proceed and get into the nitty-gritty of politics and then the ABC and the chaos in the ABC at the moment.
There's no chaos in
There's no chaos? Or I will get to find out shortly. Now, there's this word on the street that you would your husband. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I met my husband during my uncle's bachelor's leave. He was going to get married. I had a friend who was getting married in Persona, and that would have been my first time to travel. I was in university. That was in 90. I saw my husband December 13th, 1996. So it was a day after my 23rd birthday. And I think for him it was 3 days after his 35th birthday. My husband is 12 years older than me. And so I was there. My uncle needed me there for me to be able to be the usher and be in charge of the collection of the monies and donations, because he was sure having me there that everything would be accounted for. So I was so angry when my parents insisted I should go, because I wanted to be at the wedding of my friend, who then was the daughter of the commissioner of police. And it was supposed to have been fun. But when I came for the wedding, my husband came, he was the chairman of that occasion. And when he just stood, I fell in love with him. He did it anyway. He didn't even know I was there, by the way. So I fell in love with me. I'm the kind of person, and I've always been that kind of person. I think I'm a chaser. I don't wait for someone to, even people that come, I never say yes to people that come. Because for me, I always say where women are supposed to be like, oh no, just stay in one place. Just allow the man to come and say, in a relationship that I'm going to be active participant in, I'll just be sitting there for whoever it is that comes to me. No, I select if I feel that you have whatever it is. And that's how it started. And so when I saw him, I think it was 8 months later that we started going out. And then 8 months after that, we got married. And so I told my uncle that I was going to take, when they do this wedding, they used to have this VHS cassettes that they will not be sharing, people will be watching it. So I took it to his office, I went to collect it and all of that. And recently I was even sharing something with my mom, because she thought it was my uncle that brought us. I was like, no, my uncle didn't even know where we went this. And I was like, there was a day I was going to my now husband's office then. I was going to his office, I think whether to go and collect the VHS. Then they had a friend of mine who we lived in the same area. We're both schooling in Bayero University, Kano, and we're going to go to school together. She was like, she wanted to go. I said, no, I'm branching somewhere. She said, okay, let's go together to that place. And then I'm like, no, I'm not. She was like, I was like, no, because man, let me not carry you there now. Then it's not you. They'll be seeing. My mom was just laughing because I'm like, yes, I'm very calculated. I'll not take you there now. The guy will not see you now. I said, no. She tried to, I'm like, no, you go your own, and then I'll go there. Even when I told my uncle, I was like, because at that time he had asked me, well, why are you still coming from home? Like, no, I haven't gotten accommodation. I was like, if I get the accommodation, let him know, and then he'll come and pick me. And so when it was summer, so I told my uncle, I said, tell your friend that I've gotten accommodation. Could you please come drop me? I was like, where did you wish her? And I was sit down there, and then he came over, and that was the day. And one very funny thing was that, and that shows who I am. For me, what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to do. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do. Why are you going to kill me? I've never been any be this or be not say your mind. And so on that day, and that was on a Wednesday in August 19. So this was 1997. And then he said to me, okay, maybe after we had spoken a little bit, maybe I'll come and see you on Saturday.
Like you approached him, like
yeah, we spoke now. I mean, could be going there and
what people say that you toasted him.
So when you say toasted him, what does that mean?
In our local park.
Yeah, so that's it. Now me going there and giving you cassettes, starting the talk with you and everything, guy. Is that not?
Sure.
And then I can't remember what the actual conversation was. I mean, it's over 37, 20, is it 28 years ago now? Yeah. So and then like, okay, he's gonna come. And like he said, maybe I will see you on Saturday. And I said to him,
was he surprised at the events of you introducing the conversation first?
I don't even know whether I was surprised. I said what I said, and it's left for him. If he doesn't agree, I move on. That's not my first time. I've had people say no, and I move on.
That's dogged.
But let me get this one because it's very critical for you to get. And he said, oh, maybe I'm coming to see you on Saturday. And I said to him, I don't do maybes. It's either you're coming or you're not coming, because I can't stay in my room all day with the father. And he laughed and said, I'm coming. And so up to today, he always said, so that's who I am. I was 23 then. He was 36. I've always been bold.
You had that.
I have guts. No, I have it. Everybody. I have that gut. And that was it. That was the beginning of the relationship. 8 months later. I mean, within 2 months, we knew we were getting married. I think like a month.
He didn't try to take advantage of you.
No, absolutely.
Introduce the conversation
No,
because a lot of Nigerian guys.
Not my husband. No, not my husband. Amazing dude. Feminist to the core, even though he doesn't call himself a feminist. Feminist to the core. I think, was it like a month or few days after? So what he did, was it 2 weeks or something? Then he came he came with his friend to come and meet my dad and say, and so, that's what God could have caught him to tell him that he wants to start coming to see me. And that was the start of
formalized.
Yes. So I think that we did that. If I check the dates, I have all the dates written down and everything. Wow. So he came over to meet my dad. My husband has never, tried to
take advantage of you.
Not my husband.
Because that's what many ladies are afraid
I won't be with that person. What? Yeah? I'll just walk my own way. Because for me, I have a sense of,
respect,
my identity, self-respect. You can't just, so my husband is not that kind of person. And then in that 1998, he was, the first person that said to me, you need to make your own money. You need to be financially independent so that you will be able to own your voice. He's a chartered accountant. I think, is it this year? This year it should be 40 years that he became a chartered accountant. He became a chartered in 1986.
It's been that long.
It's that long. It's that long. So, and then he said to me, because then I was an auditor, traveling all over. I said, if anything ever happens to me, I don't want you to be stranded or whatever. You need to make your own money. And so my husband has always supported me. In 2000, there's still a letter he wrote to me. I even have it on Twitter, where he said to me, you'll be a businesswoman that the world will welcome you.
Have you? Have you become that?
The world has not reckoned with me in line of business, but they've reckoned with me in line of
business.
I'm a businesswoman. I've never worked in my life. I've always done business.
Can you share the kind of business?
Yes. And I would say to you, my first business was actually going to Dubai to buy things and come and sell. And that was in the year 2000. And my husband put together, but some money he had saved, some loans he collected for me to start that business. Along the way, the business crashed.
Wow. So sorry.
It's one of those lessons. And then in 2002, I started selling chicken feed. And it was quite interesting. It was my husband, starting a poultry in the house. And then he was buying. And then he kept saying, there's no place where they sell poultry around where we were living. You have to go far. If any of you could start, because my business had started and I had my 2 kids. I was just staying at home. And then there was his friend also who had lost his job. And he kept telling us, like, if you start. And then I started that particular business. By 2004, I became a distributor, buying the trailers. I had my warehouse and that was it. And so I've done distribution. When people ask me, I always say to people, first of all, what business did I do? I've sold so many things, but I do more of the fast-moving goods. And then by 2007, I started building houses. I started with my first house was a 2-bedroom, 10 units of 2-bedroom flats. And that happened. So I was, by 2004, 5, 6,
like
that was the area that I build and rent. Yes,
wow.
yes. So for me, that's basically what I'm doing up to today. That's
That's
why I can say that.
realistic business.
That's why I can fight government.
Wow.
I sit down, even if I don't, tenant to pay money.
Yeah, sure.
It will enter their account back to the 20. I can't remember when the person used to attack me on Twitter. It turned out to be my tenant. I was like, as long as you pay me the money,
no problem. No problem. All right. Now, Showore has been a pain in the butts of your candidates. And I want to know how you feel about him always criticizing.
He's a citizen. He has the right to criticize my candidate.
And she doesn't see him the way you see him.
He doesn't have to. His business is to criticize him. Every Nigerian hold him accountable. Has he been able to stand up to the criticism? Showore is, how do I put it, investigative journalist, if I'm not mistaken, or he has a media that does. If there's anything that he has on, he will bring it out. There's nothing. I'm not the kind of person that has a candidate that I'm hiding, people should not hold him accountable, people should not call him out. If you want to insult me for my interview, feel free. That's why it's in a public space. And if he can't take the insult, then he can't also be in the villa. He can't be the president of Nigeria. So everybody is open to take on him the way he takes on him. If Showore feels like it's better off focusing on Peter Obi's candidacy rather than his own candidacy, the more the better.
Right now, ADC you said they are not having any chaos and everything is so good in-house. You're in the in-house.
Yeah, I'm in-house. Everything, there's no problem. Everything is.
Do you see ADC in the ballots in 2027 presidential election?
Well, ADC should be in the ballot.
Should be?
Yeah, should be in the ballot. It's a registered party. And that should be in the ballot, except if there's criminality that is happening in Nigeria that which Nigerians, accept and feel comfortable.
There's a lot of problem in the ADC that Nigerians are aware of, like the Nafiu Balagombe issue and all that. So you know.
So what has Nafiu Bala got to do with ADC being on the ballot?
That means there's an in-house chaos.
There's no in-house chaos. Why? So explain to me. Let me understand. So I don't know.
You are in court. The whole Nigeria, the whole nation knows about this chaos happening.
So what has court case got to do with being on the ballot?
And the INEC has said that they don't recognize the leadership of office.
So why is that not an issue that worries you? Why does INEC have a power?
I'm not a member.
No, you don't have to be. Are you a Nigerian?
Yeah, of course I'm a Nigerian.
Exactly. Why should we?
That's why I'm asking.
No, that's what the first thing I want to, because the way you're asking it, like you made up your mind on something.
No, I didn't make.
That's why I'm giving you feedback on it. Why is it that you don't have any issue with INEC just saying we've removed a leader, the leadership of the party? So they can also wake up and deregister the remaining. I think we are 21 political parties. Now they can deregister 20 political parties and just say it's only one. And it's okay.
Do you think they have the power to deregister?
Well, Nigerians are giving them the power to do it. It starts with one thing. When this administration came, they changed the national anthem. People feel, I refuse to stand to that national anthem. I only started standing on it because of being a member of a political party. And then that's one of the things that happen. When you're a member of a political party, of course, you have to go by the rules. So if they say stand up for the national anthem, I will stand up. So that's why I always tell people, as I am, I have a lot of freedom.
At the point, there was an event that you didn't stand up.
No, I'm going to come. That's what I just said. I mean, it's not something that is hidden. I'm not going to hide. I didn't stand up. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's not national anthem. That's Telugu's anthem. But the thing is that it started from there.
It used to be our national anthem, no?
It used to be your national anthem. Okay. So what does that mean?
And it was changed.
How was it changed? Did somebody just wake up one day? It was changed. Then it now became. If the changing is not the problem, the manner of the changing. I mean, you should be angry that someone woke up and decided to change national anthem, and it was changed. That's the reason why we're seeing all the nonsense that are happening in Nigeria today. A sitting governor, elected governor, was removed. It starts from there. So by the time you keep allowing it, and for me, I said, and I said it then, and I still said it, that change of national anthem to Tinubu's anthem was testing the mind. And when Nigerians did nothing, you enable him, you give him an enabling environment to keep behaving badly, then they will behave badly. You give someone an inch, they say they will take more than that inch that you're giving. So that's what's happening. So that's why I say, we will wake up, because Nigerians have given that room. They say, what can we do? It's like that. That's the way we go. But I say to you, first of all, there's no crisis in ADC. Someone goes to court, no problem. Let the court process follows itself. The court process did the court ruling say INEC remove the leadership of ADC? I don't think there's no part in that where any of that was said. Then why is INEC in it? That's what should worry Nigerians. Nigeria.
Yeah.
And you've also heard the chairman say, oh, in case we win in 2027 ADC, we will not announce them if they go out. That's somebody being preemptive. That's somebody being premeditated. This thing should worry Nigeria. If you say, okay, status quo, but there was never a time that ADC didn't have leadership. If you say you're going to take it to before the current leadership of David Mark and Aregbesola, then you take it to Ralph Wosu and the secretary that was there. You can't just remove leadership and make it leadershipless and say it works. So that's why I say, why are Nigerians, okay with that? But anyway, the party is doing what it's doing. It has done a press statement. It has called for the, for the sack resignation of the INEC chairman, because he's clearly partisan. He clearly made up his mind about 2027. Why are we wasting billions of naira? If Nigerians are okay with it, let them not have a ban. Let us sit down. Like they can even rename it to Tinubu Nigeria Limited if that's what they want to call the country or whatever it is. So when for us as a party, we don't have any internal crisis, people are free to go to court. That's why it's a body where you can go to court and they can sue and be sued, right? And so it's an entity that can do that. And they're in court. But that doesn't give INEC the right to now make a whole political party leadershipless, especially when it is the one that is the main opposition party. When it's the one they can see the handwriting on the wall that people are no longer
Do you have does the party
with African Democratic Congress.
Okay, ma'am, we're trying to round off the session. Do you have does the ADC have any form of alternatives, in case if this ADC movement doesn't work, what next?
ADC have a lot of what next, but that's not a conversation I have the authority to talk about. So maybe if you meet with the national chairman or whoever they assign, they can tell you about that. But of course, they have. And we're not just sitting there and not taking this fighting. No. We will do everything within the ambit of the law. We are law-abiding. We are not reckless. We are not unlawful. And we've seen the way that the people who are afraid and the question I just want to end up is, who is afraid of ADC being on the ballot 2027? That's what your answer is.
All right. So let me sign off with this question: the obedience movement. Like people are saying, wherever the movement goes is where they go. In case people are saying that in case ADC doesn't work, where would obedient movements go?
I think one of the most important things that we need to realize is that there are a lot of Nigerians who support Mr. Peter Obi, and most of them don't even identify as anything. All they know is that wherever Peter Obi goes, that's where they're going to go. And these Nigerians are in their millions. I always say those of us who support Mr. Peter Obi openly are the ones who are like a threat to the movement. That support him and are like famous, because they can easily reach out to you, compromise you, but there are millions that nobody knows about that are in village, and some of them they are even in the houses of the politicians in the ruling party. They call us, although I call it an illegitimate ruling party, and they're all in their houses, and so they are there, and for them it is Peter Obi that they are interested in. They don't care wherever he is; they will always be there with him. And I think it takes a lot for someone to be able to get that kind of followership. It means that there's something that he's doing very well, and they see a path through him to the light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's nice having this conversation with you, and that's how we're going to wrap up the show today on My African Story, and then keep following us on our social media handles, Ekele Ezekwe on YouTube, Facebook. All right, know that when Africa sneezes, the world catches the cold, and keep being the best African version of yourself. Bye.
BBT. Big by tank.